It is a great honor and a joy to have with us this evening for this particular program, Admiral Lloyd Joe Vasey. And can I, sir? Can I call you Joe? Is that okay?
Please.
Okay. All right. We're going to be talking about the Gulf of Tonkin, and Joe is going to set that record straight. And as many of you know, or you should know, the Gulf of Tonkin incident is a key piece, as I've talked about before, of the opening of the Vietnam War. And Admiral Vasey, in case you did not know, was a submarine officer in World War II. He's part of Tom Brokaw's Greatest Generation. And he was involved in the invasion of North Africa. That was Operation Torch, if I'm right. Operation Torch, and in all kinds of activities, submarine warfare in World War II, right, in the Pacific.
Right.
And in fact, you even had a depth charging event there that was a bit scary in World War II, did you not?
About over 20 of them.
Okay.
Different occasions.
Different occasions.
But the thing that was scary was when friendly fire, our friends, American aviators, bombed us on 3 different times. Confusion.
Unfortunately, they never hit you, and he's here with us today.
Twice off Casablanca, once north of Australia, Darwin.
And thank goodness for poor marksmanship.
Oh, they are terrible shots.
But just so you know, ladies and gentlemen, Admiral Vasey has also been a chief strategist for SINCPAC. He has also been a secretary to the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He's commanded a fleet of destroyers, and for purposes of this program, talking about the Gulf of Tonkin incident, he was the chief of staff for the commander for the 7th Fleet.
U.S. 7th Fleet.
U.S. 7th Fleet. And Joe, let's begin here with talking about kind of generally why it was that these 2 destroyers, the USS Maddox and the USS Turner Joy, why were they in the Gulf of Tonkin in the summer of 1964?
Well, you have to put it in context of the international situation. The 4 successive presidents, starting with President Truman on through Eisenhower, Lyndon Johnson, all supported a strategy of containing communism, aggressive communism. The Cold War was in full bloom.
Right.
Aggressive communism spread by China and the Soviet Union was a major security problem for the free world. And we were determined at the time to prevent South Vietnam from being conquered. Now, 1959, the North Vietnamese Politburo in Hanoi made a determination to conquer South Vietnam by infiltration of agents of influence, eventually infiltration of actual troops in civilian clothes, all of this, and by psychological warfare, all this with support from China and the Soviet Union. So we were determined to stop this and to prevent South Vietnam from going under.
Okay, and they used the term, the North Vietnamese used the term that they were going to liberate.
Liberate.
They were going to liberate South Vietnam.
Well, what they were trying to do was conquer.
Okay, all right.
By liberate them, they mean liberate them from democratic principles.
Okay, with that as background then, why do we have these 2 destroyers in the Gulf of Tonkin in that summer of 1964?
Well, by 1961, 62, the internal security situation, South Vietnam had seriously deteriorated. Now, under President Kennedy, or before Kennedy, we'd start putting military advisors in there. He increased the advisory group to 18,000.
Okay.
And he authorized our helicopters to fire at the enemy. Now, to answer your question, at that period of history, we had intelligence collection patrols run by the 7th Fleet off China, Russia, North Korea. And now we started 1962 off Vietnam. We call that DeSoto Patrol.
DeSoto.
DeSoto.
D-E-S-O-T-O.
Right. Where our destroyers were collecting radio and radar signals emanating from the coast. And later, in about 64, they were North Vietnamese were infiltrating guerrillas by sea.
Okay.
And supplies. So Turner Joy got the DeSoto Patrol, and her mission was not only to collect intelligence from the land side, but also to watch for the infiltration, evidence of infiltration of North Vietnamese by sea.
Okay. So if we go specifically to the date of August 2,
Yeah,
1964,
yeah,
the USS Maddox,
yeah,
destroyer Maddox, on one of these DeSoto patrols,
right.
is off in international waters, off of North Vietnam, near Haiphong.
It was 28 miles off the coast.
Okay, and on August 2nd, what happens with the Maddox?
Well, all of a sudden, in broad daylight, a bold, unprovoked attack occurred by 3 enemy torpedo boats. And at that point, the flagship 7th Fleet, which I was on with the staff and the Admiral, were in Yokosuka.
Okay, so let's be clear for our audience here that the Maddox was a part of the 7th Fleet at that time.
Very much.
And so, do you recall the name of the commander of the Maddox? The name of that officer?
Offhand, I don't. I
Okay,
forget.
all right. So the Maddox is...
I think it was, Turner Joy was Barnhart.
How about Herrick?
Who?
Herrick? Does that sound...
Herrick was 2 days later.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
So
Herrick.
we're on the Maddox.
Yeah.
There are 3 patrol boats, North
Approaching.
Vietnamese patrol boats
High speed.
at high speed, and so the commander of the Maddox sends a message to the 7th Fleet headquarters in Yokosuka, Japan,
To my boss.
to your boss, and your boss is where? He's...
Well, he was temporarily off somewhere.
Okay. He's off, and so...
I was in a swimming pool.
But
right?
because you're the chief of staff,
Yeah.
you're the number 2 person.
Yeah,
Okay.
right. Swimming pool.
So the
And-
message comes to you, right?
Yeah. The duty officer frantically brought this message, and I read it, and the skipper,
And what did it say? What did the message say?
skipper of the Maddox, said, I am being approached by 3 high-speed torpedo boats with obvious intentions to attack.
Okay.
I intend to immediately open fire on them.
Okay, and so you're in the pool. You're in the pool, right?
Yeah,
And the duty officer is handing you this piece of
Yeah.
paper, like I'm doing right now, right?
Yeah.
And you're all wet.
Yeah.
You're in the pool. And so he gives you that message.
Yeah.
And he hands you a pen.
yeah.
And so what do you write on the piece of paper?
I wrote, agree sink them.
Agree. Sink them. Okay? And so the action that follows
Yeah.
in the Gulf of Tonkin between the North Vietnamese patrol boats, the aircraft carrier Ticonderoga,
Yeah.
and the Maddox results in what? What happens?
Well, they sank or damaged the 3 boats.
Okay.
Now, first, the boats fired at least 2 torpedoes
Okay.
on the Maddox. They also fired machine gun fire. Later, we found bullet holes through the after end of the Maddox.
So we know that the Maddox, because it has bullet holes in it, was attacked.
Well,
No question.
Actually, we got pictures, the attack, broad daylight, the aviators up there.
Okay. All
It
right.
was joint action.
All right. So that gets us August 2nd,
Yeah.
1964. And what then is the Turner Joy is some distance away,
Yeah.
and that Navy destroyer is given what orders?
Well, the fleet commander of the Pacific Fleet, Admiral Tom Moore, who had been commander of 7th Fleet till a month before, he immediately ordered Turner Joy to join Maddox
Okay, so
and to continue the DeSoto patrol.
okay,
They're in international waters, had every right to be there. There's an attack on American ships. It's considered the same as an attack on American territory.
all right, and so now we get to the next on August 3. The Turner Joy is moving towards the Maddox, and on that the date, then we shift over to August 4. And the Maddox and the Turner Joy are some several miles off the coast of North Vietnam.
They're about 60 to 70 miles off coast.
Did you say 60?
To 70,
60.
60,
Okay,
at
okay.
least, maybe 70
All right, and so,
off the coast of Vietnam.
all right, and so on,
But this was nighttime.
okay, so now we're at nighttime, and a
Right.
little more difficult.
Yeah,
And ladies and gentlemen, this is where the controversial piece of the Gulf of Tonkin incident really starts.
Yeah.
It's on the August 4. So, Joe, what happens on August 4 then?
well, let me say, first we got a highly classified intelligence report. They were monitoring the North
Vietnamese?
radio.
Okay.
They had been ordered to attack U.S. ships.
Both the Maddox and the
Right.
Turner Joy.
Right.
Okay.
And just within an hour, the attack occurred.
Okay, hold on one second. When that highly regarded, highly placed intelligence report came in,
Yeah.
at that time on August 3 or August 4,
Four.
on the 4th, did that report come to you or through you? Did you see that?
No, actually, the Turner Joy saw it because on the ship we had a special intelligence unit on there, so they were authorized to receive special intelligence.
Okay,
Now,
so
that was very restricted in those days. Only normally the Admiral commanding officer saw it.
okay, so here we are. We're on August 4,
Yeah.
and on board the Turner Joy,
Yeah.
the intelligence report
Yeah.
is received that from North Vietnamese sources
Yeah.
that they're going to be hit.
An attack is imminent.
Okay, then what happens?
Then, at that point, the 2 destroyers detected on radar to the east, about 14, 15 miles, they detected several high-speed contacts closing in on them.
Okay, okay. And was there exchange of gunfire and volleys after that? What happened?
Well, a few minutes later, the Turner Joy actually locked on to one of the torpedo boats and hit it.
Sunk that boat.
Well, we're not sure it sunk, probably because they saw the black smoke go up.
Okay.
Now, that was even Captain Turner Joy, Barnhart, Robert Barnhart.
Robert Barnard. All right,
And several of the sailors up on the bridge saw it.
okay, and you were in Japan at that moment.
Oh no, by then, August 2nd, the first attack on
Okay.
Paddock, we got underway immediately. Admiral was aboard, the flagship got aboard, and he ordered the Oklahoma City cruiser to proceed at maximum speed to the Gulf of Tonkin.
And were you on the Oklahoma at that time?
I was Oklahoma City, and so we went down such high speed that the paint and the smokestacks melted.
That's
Because the Admiral ordered the skipper pull the stops,
and to get that cruiser
go
to the Paddock.
maximum, get down there.
Okay,
And so we were entering Tonkin Gulf about the time of this
okay,
second attack, 4 August.
and then following this second attack,
Yeah.
what was your involvement with the Gulf of Tonkin incident? What did you do after that?
Well, first, we had to evaluate, because the skipper of both destroyers were sending messages in, even to Washington, that they were under attack.
Okay.
And for the first maybe hour, there was a lot of confusion. And
Joe, let me stop you for a second. You say there's been a lot of confusion in the
Yeah.
first hour of the attack, and this was because it was at night.
part of it, and the two destroyers were in column. They were weaving.
Okay, and the weaving was
So what happened was they saw torpedo wakes, but several sailors reported the same wakes,
Okay.
repeated.
okay.
And a couple of them reported seeing torpedo boats, but weaving, they were duplicated. But after a while, the unit command, the boss of the two ships, his name Captain Herrick, conferred with the two captains, and they worked out everything, and they decided a lot of confusion, but an attack had definitely occurred.
No question that an attack had
Yeah,
confirmed
because they,
had occurred by
in
those.
the meantime, they talked to witnesses on their two ships,
Okay.
and they were able to correlate all it, and they put everything down on charts. Now, we sent an officer over by helicopter to get the charts,
Okay.
and he was a professional navigator, used to be in submarines with me, and he talked with the navigators and the operation officers and the skippers too, and they on the spot did a lot of correlation. Then they brought the charts back, and then the operation staff on a flagship plus me and the admiral, we went over all of it.
So when all these charts and graphs were brought back
Yeah.
onto the Oklahoma City,
Yeah.
where you were, you personally were involved in the analysis and review
Yeah,
of
right,
those.
right.
And so what was the conclusion then?
Well, we concluded that an attack had occurred, that
You-
there was a lot of duplication of what they saw.
But no question that an attack had occurred.
Right, right.
Okay, let me stop you for a second, Joe.
Well, also, by that time, the two ships had sent us the reports from the witnesses.
Okay, so
we had all that.
you had witnesses, you had the charts, and you had the logs, and whatever other pieces of evidence.
Yeah.
Concluded that there was no question that an attack had occurred.
Right.
All right, so let me stop you for a second here. You've had some experience in combat in wartime.
Are you kidding?
Have you ever, Joe? Have you ever seen a situation where things are a bit confusing?
Well, let me tell you, I've been attacked by the forces of 5 different nations.
5 nations.
5 nations.
Okay.
But only two were enemy.
Only 2.
The Germans and the Japanese.
Okay.
Japanese, 21 different occasions.
All right. Well, just for fun, who were the other guilty parties that attacked you?
Well, off Casablanca at Operation Torch, American aviators bombed us twice.
Okay, but they didn't hit you.
No,
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't be here.
No, but they could have grazed the ship, I suppose. The
No,
submarine.
not a
All right, so
submarine.
we got the Germans, the Japanese, the Americans. Who else are in this category?
And the French shore batteries were firing guns out at us.
This is an Operation Torch.
We were on the surface, this canal, our submarine, USS, we were on the surface. We had an infrared light. We were the torch guiding the landing ground.
And if you check your history, you'll see this. Operation Torch was the submarine that Admiral Vasey was on at the
Yeah,
time.
we had orders to stay one spot because I was off to the deck up there 2 in the morning. And all of a sudden, gunfire from the shore French came over, then the U.S. battleship Massachusetts. I could look up, see the big shells over. So I called my captain, McCain. He's the father, the senator.
Okay.
He's on a bunk down below.
And what did he tell you?
I said, Skipper, you better get up here. All hell broken loose. He said, Joe, keep that damn submarine in that one spot and keep shining the torch. Call me if anything happens. It's exciting.
Okay, so we have the Germans, the Japanese,
Oh,
and the Americans.
French.
Okay, and the French. Okay, now what was the 5th one?
Well, then we got off Gibraltar and the British attacked us. Actually, first we almost attacked their convoy.
Okay.
We're off Gibraltar, we were headed up to England, and we sighted this convoy, and we were actually under the control of British Navy.
Okay.
We were following their instructions
All right.
track, and by God, so we saw this convoy, we assumed it's not British, not Allied, must be German.
Okay.
So they got closer. McCain had me look through the scope. He was looking, try to identify him, and he was just about to fire torpedoes. All of a sudden, 3 destroyers at the front, they're shifting. The wind blew the flag. We saw the British ensign. We're just about ready to shoot. So that was confusion on a part caused by the British themselves.
But another good example of confusion in the time of battle. Right?
Yeah.
So let's go back to the situation in the Gulf of Tonkin.
Well, first, now later, up off England, I was attacked by German aircraft, machine gun fire. They didn't hit us, but we could hear the bullets whistling by. We're on the surface at night.
Plenty of opportunities for confusion in wartime, right? All right, we got to go back to
But
the.
none of these guys were good shots, thank the God. They must have been confused too.
They were probably confused too. All right. So we're back in the Gulf of Tonkin
Yeah.
now, And the Turner Joy, the conclusion is that she was attacked along with the Maddox a second time.
Yeah.
Let me ask you one other question, Joe, which is, you're on the USS Oklahoma City, and you're going through this analysis,
Yeah.
and you've got the charts,
Yeah.
you've got the logs, and you're looking at this whole evidence of the witnesses, what the sailors have seen, what the
I like
officers
to
have
say
seen.
18
18.
witnesses, 18 officers and young sailors had compelling evidence of an attack. For example, 4 guys saw a torpedo wake come up.
Okay.
One guy, Turner Joy, same wake, and 4 from the one guy from the Maddox, and then 4 from the Turner Joy. That's just one example. There's other examples.
You know, this this whole incident, as you're describing it, leads me to want to ask you what I think is a very interesting question. And the question is this: when you were going through this analysis,
Yeah.
and you were reviewing the evidence of the sailors, did it go through your mind that you were dealing with an incident that could very well spark a major war?
Well, I certainly was aware, but remember, August 2nd, they had already attacked America.
Okay, so this would have been just a
Afterthought.
a confirmation
As
incident.
far as us warriors were concerned, particularly us guys been in World War II.
Okay, and you know the last piece that I want to talk with you about, Joe, is that after the Gulf of Tonkin incident, there was an investigation that took place in the Philippines
Right.
at the Longapo,
Yeah.
and you were an observer at that.
Yeah.
And the sailors and officers
Yeah.
testified again.
Yeah, again, and a very impressive testimony. They gave the example I just gave. Several of the sailors actually saw silhouettes of torpedo boats going down the side. Some of them saw searchlight pointed their way. There's just many compelling pieces of evidence. Now, normally in a situation like this, you can assume maybe a couple of the 18 may have been wrong or partly wrong, but
Right.
not all of them.
Right.
And the evidence was compelling. Now, the inquiry went on all day long.
Okay.
I had been ordered to sit in with the fleet commander, Admiral Moore, only as an observer. But he told me, don't let those lawyers harass our boys.
Okay. Pentagon lawyers.
Yeah, Pentagon.
Okay. All right.
Pentagon.
All right. So let's focus on this final piece now,
Yeah,
and that is this: the Gulf of Tonkin incident. You have set the record straight,
yeah,
but history got it all twisted around.
Yeah.
And the history of the Gulf of Tonkin incident has really impugned the reputation and the honor of the President,
That's
the
right.
Secretary of Defense, the senior command of the United States Navy, and the officers and
Yeah.
sailors of both the Maddox
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
Turner Joy.
Yeah.
And what history has done is basically has taken these
yeah,
military personnel that served in the Gulf
Yeah.
of Tonkin and basically set them on the side of a hoax or a fraud. Isn't
Yeah.
that right?
yeah, exactly right.
And so that how did this, just a short answer, Joe, but how did this twisting of history come to be?
Well, before I answer that, at long ago, that investigation, the headed by the legal counsel of the Defense Department. And he showed me his message that he was about to send to Secretary McNamara.
Okay.
And what she said, no doubt an attack occurred.
Okay, no doubt
Yeah.
an attack occurred.
Yeah. So anyway, getting back to your question you just asked me. The naysayers base their case basically on what they call the lack of communications, SIGINT intelligence, that's intercepts,
Okay,
showing that an attack occurred. There was no proof, they said, that an attack occurred. Now, interestingly, they completely overlook what the, and 8 years ago, the director of policy of National Security Agency, NSA, who reevaluated the whole thing, he concluded this brief statement: comment does not prove communication intelligence, does not approve that an attack occurred or that it did not occur. In other words, that just negated all their arguments. Now, none of these characters that have written articles have quoted that. They fail to do their research. Now, secondly, almost all critics, even historians who ought to know better, have completely ignored the positive evidence of testimony of the 18 witnesses who presented positive evidence of an attack. It's an excuse. It's disgraceful, my opinion. I'm a proud American. I'm proud of the U.S. Navy. I'm proud of the performance of the crews of both ships that night, both Maddox and Turner Joy. Very proud of them. They did a wonderful job. But I hate now to see history distorted such a way that some of these historians have even accused our senior military leaders of knowing there was no attack, but gun-tacking the evidence to convince the national leadership to attack North Vietnam. That is just disgraceful. And these people should be, as far as I'm concerned, go to prison.
well, you know, Joe, this message that and the research and work that you've done is another wonderful service that you've done, not only to the men and women of the U.S. military, the United States Navy, but also to our country.
Yeah.
And I think that as a result of your work, your writings, your research, and now, you know, sitting with me and telling this story, you have set the Tonkin record straight. And I want to thank you for this, and I'd like to offer you an opportunity. Do you have any special message that you'd like to give to the folks who serve those two destroyers that have had this?
Well,
They've been living under this black cloud for their whole lives, right?
Well, particularly the skippers. And I know I heard from the skipper, son, Turner Joy, after I wrote my article, and he thanked me. His dad had been under the dark cloud for so many years. And I would like to recommend that any doubters read my article, Tonkin, Setting the Record Straight, published in the August
2010
issue of the U.S. Naval Institute Proceedings. Now, I spent months researching that article. I didn't just pull thoughts out of my mind. I actually reviewed everything that happened. I read the congressional hearings on the Gulf. I read all the criticism. I read all the declassified information from the spooks.
Okay.
I read all that, and I don't agree with them. I agree with their director of policy, what they came up with. It didn't prove anything. They're like human beings too, you know. But I would like to thank the crew of the Turner Joy for inviting me to your reunion. Unfortunately, I thought I'm a bit too old. I'm in my 90s. I couldn't find some beautiful young lady to accompany me.
You mean you couldn't get a date? That's the reason you're not coming?
We thought this would be the next best thing. Send this video, and I want to say again, I'm proud of the Turner Joy, proud of all you guys, and I wish I could be there with you to celebrate this occasion. Meanwhile, I hope you'll splice the main brace to me. Aloha from Hawaii.
You know, ladies and gentlemen, I have one other thing I want to add here. You know, clearly Admiral Vasey has vindicated those of you that served on the USS Maddox and the USS Turner Joy. And he's also vindicated the United States Navy, the intelligence personnel, and all that were involved in this Gulf of Tonkin incident. But there's one final piece I want you to remember, and that is some 4 years after the Gulf of Tonkin incident occurred, Secretary Robert McNamara in 1968 was testifying before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. And during the course of his testimony, he disclosed that the special intelligence that you referred to, Joe.
This was a different category, but higher up.
Higher up. Than that they had captured a North Vietnamese naval officer who had some communication with or was involved as the fleet commander.
And a commander of one of the squadrons.
And the North Vietnamese commander that they captured was the commander of one of the patrol boats.
Yeah.
And they even had the number of the boat.
That's right.
So there can be no quibbling whatsoever that the record is now set straight.
Now, I want to add one other point. As everybody knows, there was a great movement, unfortunately, against the Vietnam War. It started about that time. Again, it was disgraceful. All our brave servicemen did a wonderful job. But this incident got caught up in that negative flow of information.
Right.
And the whole thing got politicized. I picked that up in the research I did later. It was obvious that it got politicized along with the Vietnam War itself.
The record is now set straight. Thank you very much, and thank you, Joe Vasey.
Thank you. Great pleasure to be here. To salute to the Turner Joy.
Every war the United States has engaged in, either declared or undeclared, has been opposed domestically by different segments of the population, either before, during, or after the fighting. The Vietnam War was no exception. Major turning points in the conflicts in particular have been the subject of countless pages and articles written by historians with varying degrees of expertise and bias, conscious or subconscious. But few, if any, of the analyses and conclusions of the events and major turning points have been accepted as widely as the erroneous received wisdom regarding the Gulf of Tonkin incident based on the absence of just one indirect component of intelligence, while ignoring or arrogantly dismissing out of hand a compelling multitude of direct pieces of intelligence. clearly because they were not in the field of expertise of the analysts and rebutted the analysts' own conclusions. The Tonkin turning point in the Vietnam War is a rare and striking example of a herd mentality in accepting the erroneous conclusions of just a few signal intelligence analysts by the great majority of those both for and against the war. If that's all there were to the issue, one might shrug it off as one of countless errors in the recorded history of wars. But the signal intelligence analysts went further. Without any evidence whatsoever, they impugn the motives and reputations of the President and our highest-ranking naval officers and the integrity and competence of the outstanding officers and sailors aboard the USS Maddox and the USS Turner Joy. This has led to Tonkin becoming a slogan over the ensuing decades, especially of those wishing to foment distrust in the integrity of our military and highest elected officials in matters of peace and war. Fortunately, it was not allowed to stand. Though in his 90s, Admiral Joe Vasey took it upon himself to set the record straight as one more great service to our country over a long and distinguished career. History, the naval personnel directly involved, the U.S. Navy, and the country owe a debt of gratitude to Admiral Vasey.